Hi, my name is Helena Hanneder, and I'm teaching at Marburg University, where I'm also doing a PhD on writing revisions of German learners of English. Today, I'm presenting a poster on integration of source materials in the Marburg Corpus of Intermediate Learner English, the MILE. And this paper is connected to my PhD, and I started working on it kind of out of necessity. It is well known that writers copy from task materials, and I also noticed that when revising their writing, students with little proficiency would cross out a word and revise it in a suspiciously sophisticated manner sometimes. Often it would be in a way that appears verbatim in the task description. Since studies on L2 citing and paraphrasing focus on university students, I wanted to use the MILE data, which is a truly longitudinal corpus of German learners of English as they progress from years 9 to 12 to investigate their behavior a little further. For this, the research questions are: what is the ratio and pattern of material taken from the task text? To what extent do they influence lexical profiles? And what remains without potentially copied material? The answer is very little remains. When looking at the example, what remains are only the words highlighted in gray, as opposed to word forms that appeared, here printed in bold, and sequences of several word forms that also appeared in the task descriptions that are underlined. So when looking at the first sentence, you can see that remaining lexical items were misspelled, such as magazine in America, and she talking appears with a misplaced auxiliary. To capture this at a larger scale, the study attempts to provide an overview of exact copies and paraphrases by combining a quantitative analysis of the exact lemmatized copies in the entire corpus with a qualitative analysis of 3 learners, but I decided to focus on the quantitative overview in this poster. Using the NLTK Python package, lemmatized learner texts from the MILE were compared to the corresponding lemmatized task texts, and a tag was added for every sequence that was copied, either including one or several words. Since this extraction includes all copied words, also frequently occurring function words, the entire analysis was also done with an unrelated comparable language corpus, the Austrian section of the International Corpus of Cross-Linguistic Interlanguage, the ICI. Copied material, like you see in the results, increases after year 9 in comparison to the reference corpus. Task type has a significant influence on the percentage of copies with a p-value close to 0. Analyses and creative tasks have fewer copies than expected, and summaries have more copies than expected. And when comparing the copies to the leftover material, there are significant differences on the bands A1 and A2 of the Cepher levels, which show more drastic rising and falling across the years respectively. Most importantly, it appears to provide more accurate information on lexical proficiency.